All right, guys, I have my assistant that might just be off camera over here. He is going to help me out with this. And we are going to finish up putting this engine together today, hopefully. I might not be able to get as far as putting the cam in properly and timing it and all that today, because I am going to be running a little tight for time on this. But I hope I can get the new combustion chamber in the head anyways, and maybe the cam base. So let's get to it. All right, so before we get too crazy, the head gasket needs to go on. We'll slap that right into place, just like so, without dropping the chain way down in the engine again. We don't want that. Okay, that's looking really good. Now, sometimes with these head gaskets, there can be an up and down. So just make sure that you look at them really good and make sure that there isn't. It doesn't appear that there is with this one. There is a front and a back though. So just be careful. Keep that in mind when you go to lay down your head gaskets. All right, guys and gals, here's our head. And this is after it sat and it was cleaned up with the diesel on the paper towel and the transmission fluid. They cleaned up rather well. And like I said, your dowels, make sure they're in the right spot before you go to mount everything. And they are. I have one in the head and one in the cylinder opposite each other. So just make sure. The last thing you want to do is go through all the effort, feed the chain all the way up through this, that, and the other thing, and then you find out it all has to come off again to correct your dowel and put it in the right spot. That sucks. Okay, guys, so after a well-fought battle, I finally got the head on. It was a bit of a struggle to feed that chain up through, but I got it. I got the new gasket in place. So now I just have to tighten up these two bolts on either side. I think they're a 10 mil or a 12. I can't remember. So I'll get to tightening those, and then we can slap on our next part. And you want to do it just enough where you hear your wrist pop or you sprain it. And then you know you're tight enough. That's usually about what I do, you know. And then you're in a bit of a cast because you sprained your wrist a couple times when you're tightening up these bolts. That's how you know you did a good job. Okay. Now I'm going to try something crazy here. And I am going to try and feed that chain back through with the cam still in place, because I left it in there and together from when I took this engine apart. So I'm going to see if that bites me in the butt now and I have to take it apart anyways, or if I can get away with feeding that through and not have to take it apart. Because that would really help. Save me a bit of time and hassle later so I don't have to take it all apart. So I am going to do what I did, and that is use these twist ties I got here to make it a little longer so I can reach these up and grab it through there. quite long enough yet, which that'll make it a bit of a problem, but yeah, I think I got that one okay enough. Now, if I'm not careful enough with this one and it drops and it goes all the way back down there, I'll probably have to take the whole edge back apart and you will see a grown man cry on camera. So, let's try not to do that. Because this one is extremely tricky. Okay, so after another well-fought battle, I was able to get the chain fed up almost all the way back on where it's supposed to be on the sprocket, the cam sprocket. So for now, I'm gonna put these bolts back in that hold this base down to the cylinder, to the head, and we're gonna go from there. Of course, these are probably gonna be a pain in the butt to reach some of them, but we'll get them. Okay, so that's probably good enough for now on those. Again, a couple wrist pops and you're good to go. Now, next, we'll be starting to time the engine. I would believe I'd have to position this cam properly to then put the rockers in place, because if I put that, yeah. So I think what I have to do now is I gotta sit down, study the manual, go over it, and figure out exactly how things all have to be before I start and mess around with this chain and this cam a little. So I gotta do that. I'm gonna figure that out, and then I will be back and we will carry on with rebuilding this, and hopefully soon we can hear this thing make some noise for the first time in a long time. Okay, so give me a little bit. I probably still have to go for dinner, but don't worry, YouTube magic, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, see you in a bit. Hey guys and gals, welcome back. This is BK Motors Mayhem. Now, it's been a couple days since we last were working on this, if I'm truthful. We ran into some problems. So the last time you guys would have seen this, I would have been trying to put the cam in and start the whole timing process. Well, I ran into a big issue with getting the cam in. The chain seemed a little too short. So I sat down, I went through the manual, I did some more research, and I found out that I made a mistake in routing the timing chain. So if you look here, I drew up a quick little diagram because I already went through and I fixed it. So I ran my timing chain outside of the tensioner, both sides. That was wrong. It actually ended up being about a link too short, and I couldn't figure out why. So I read the manual, studied that, and it turned out that it needed to be run through the tensioner like this, not like this. So I had to take the whole engine right back down to the bare block, get the cylinder all off, everything, fix the routing of the timing chain, then I had to reassemble it again for the second or third time now. But it's back together and it's proper, and I got the cam in and ready to go for setting it, which I believe is already done, but it still needs to be bolted up to the sprocket and put in and run through a couple times to make sure everything's okay. So, no further ado, let's dive in and we'll see if we can get this engine finished and timed up and good to go. So, to time this engine, what you have to do is you gotta line your cam up and your sprocket up and make sure that when you do it, you probably won't be able to see it, but there is a little mark on here. It's actually an L, and that needs to be straight up and down, as well as this pin here on the end of this cam. You need to turn your alternator this way, and have your LT lined up with a mark on the case as well. And then once you get that done, you're good to start and tighten stuff down and is ready for final assembly. So I have already gone ahead and done all that, as you can see. So now I just got to put the bolts in and tighten them down. Now I have to be extremely mindful as well in doing this to not drop these bolts, because there could be a chance that they would fall right down into the engine, and this is not so easy to do. Well, I think I finally got that one. Okay, that's good enough for now. Now I'm just going to turn the engine over. So get at the other bolt. That one is good and snug. Just going to bring it back around again. Finish tightening this one up. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, so now with that all tight, you just got to bring it right back around to where your timing marks are. I believe right there. Ooh, don't want to lose that. A little shim. Now I'm going to refer to the manual real quick, but I believe I am able to put rockers in just like that. So give me 1 second, guys, and I'll be right back. So all you have to do apparently is just turn the lobe away from the rocker that you're going to be putting in, and you'll be able to slide your rocker pin, whatever you want to call it, right in. Now, I can only imagine I did this unknowing. Well, I did it knowingly, but I never looked into it. But I did this out of habit. I took it upon myself to mark the rocker arms, intake, exhaust, left, right. So as you can see, it's got an eye on it for intake. So I know now that this was an intake valve, and I only did the ones for the other side, right or left. Yeah, right side intake, right side exhaust. So this is left side intake. So I know this one goes here. So all you have to do, slide it into place. There. So all you have to do, put your lobe in where, or your rocker arm in where it belongs, and then slip in your shaft. So now I'm going to do the exhaust side for the left side. And just like so, we have our two rocker arms in and set up. So next is the other side, and I will do that real quick. Okay, there's the intake done. And there you go. We got our rockers in. Okay, so now the next stage is to put in the cam boxes, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to take these back off because they don't have to go on next, but we're going to try it. So these are your cam boxes, and they just slip over the ends of your cam here. You won't be able to see this side very well, but don't fret, there's still another side that has to be done. Well, it might be a little tricky because you have to have your cam properly lined up. Okay, so I both have this side installed and back on. Just putting in the bolts for it right now. I'll slowly help. Oh, wait. I think there's supposed to be a gasket there, and I forgot. So, guys, before you actually want to put your gasket in place, you want to test fit your cam boxes, then take it back off and put your gasket in place, okay? It's the best way to do it. Don't forget. So then after you have successfully test fitted your cam box, then you want to get your gasket and slide that right on and into place. Okay, so the left side is good and on. I'm going to move on to the right side and get that slapped on and ready to go. There is one quick thing I would like to mention, which I didn't on the other side, but I made sure it was there, is make sure this little metal washer, whatever you want to call it, is on and in place. It rides right up against that lobe in there. So just make sure that is on there and in place before you go ahead and put your cam boxes in. Then on this side, we'll just go ahead and ignore the pre-fit, and we'll just slap our gasket right on there. Oh, I didn't clean this side. Alright, well, quick break in the action, guys, for me to go ahead and clean off this old gasket. I thought I did. I did not. So I'll clean off this old gasket for this one, and then we will be good to go. Alright, so then once you get your old gasket off and the back relatively clean, relatively is a strong, liberally used word here. Okay, guys? Just go ahead, slap her on there. Okay, so after a little bit of a struggle, I got this side on. Now just to tighten her up, send it home where it's supposed to be. And then after this, we'll do a very crucial part, and we'll just spin the engine over very slowly, and we'll make sure that everything is happy. Okay, guys, we got our cam boxes tightened down, everything back in and proper. We're going to kick it over a couple times by hand and make sure everything moves. Oh, yes. We got good movement and even some compression. And we don't even have the studs in yet. That's got quite a bit of compression, actually. Those new rings are really working well in there. All right, everyone. I think that about wraps up this week's video. We got the engine fully back and pretty much reassembled, timed. Now we don't have the points or the spark advance or any of that on it yet, but that's quick, easy, and simple. Still got to put the studs in. I might do some of that stuff off camera, so I'm not boring you guys too much with that little piddly stuff. I don't know about the spark, the points and all that. I might save that for you guys, but I might just wrap up most of this engine here, so that then for next week we can pretty much almost dive right in and get into doing the carburetors and mounting those and seeing if we can actually get this engine to run again. There have been some changes to the CB350. So I have gone ahead and done some work to it. I installed the studs, put the bolts on, put on the right side header. Muffler is just loose there. And you may or may not notice, but I did also swap out the rear fender for the better one that a viewer of the channel and fan donated to the build. It is in really good shape compared to the one that was on the bike. It does have a couple dents in it right here on both sides, but I think I can hammer those out with some body hammers and dollies, so not too worried about that. But we will get into the real meat of this thing. In this video, I'm hoping it will start. I did take the liberty of mounting a carburetor on it, if you can see. Yeah. So I got one carburetor all set up and ready to go, I believe. I had to modify the cable and everything, and I thought I would bring you guys in to show you what I had to do. But I thought I would go through the first carb and get that done and out of the way, so I know what I'm doing, to show you guys what to do and what not to do. So that is what we will be doing today, is getting the second carburetor set up and ready to go. Now this is a little more different from the factory one. The factory one was vacuum. These are cable. So I had to make some modifications to the throttle cable. Now, I'm still not sure if I want to keep these aftermarket carbs or switch back maybe in the future to the factory carburetors. I don't know, as you saw by the thumbnail. I'm not sure. So I know these ones are brand new and clean, so that's one benefit to using these carburetors, is I don't have to tear them apart and clean them, unlike the factory ones. And I believe they would need diaphragms and all that other nonsense. I don't feel like rebuilding carbs. I've done enough of them. I don't need to do them again. So I figured at least this way they're new. I can just pop these right on and go right ahead and try and start it. But now I know some of you might be thinking, well, now that you modified the cable, you can't switch back. Well, with that giant parts haul, I do have an extra factory throttle cable. So it's a win-win, really and truthfully. I modify these to fit these carburetors, and I still have a factory throttle cable. So I'll get ready here, and I'll show you guys how to modify these cables so that you can run these aftermarket carbs. So, like I said, guys, this carburetor is all set up and ready to go, mounted. She's good. She works. So I'm rather happy with it. So what I need to do to start to do the second carburetor is pop off this throttle cable. So just gotta go ahead, pull it apart. There we go. Throttle cable off. All right, so this is the main reason why I'm having to modify these cables, is because for the carb end, it actually needs an end more like this. not like this. So what I'm having to do is cut this off and modify this whole cable. So I'll show you what I do. So I just go ahead, cut that off. Then I have to take this piece off as well, because this piece will now not fit in that aftermarket carburetor. So I have to pop this off. And with this off, it gives me more cable space to run the cable inside of the carburetor rather than outside. So this has to come off. Can be a little tricky, but it will come off. Okay guys, so I wasn't able to really pull that off. On some of them you can, and they're not stuck on. This one I just cut off. I was very careful, just cutting through the sheathing and not the actual cable. And now you end up with a result like that. So as you can see, you end up with a lot more cable with this off. So that will work perfect for what we have to do. So I know some of you are also thinking, well, BK, why didn't you buy the proper cable for those carburetors? Well, I'll tell you why. I could not find one for those carburetors. Couldn't find it, scoured the internet. I looked on all the forums, all of that. I could not find anything just leading to a proper throttle cable for those carburetors. Now, maybe you guys out there know, I couldn't find anything. So what I did was I hopped on the old Amazonian website and I got this kit here. It's a custom throttle cable kit. Comes with a whole whack of fittings, some sheathing, and some cable. So it gives me tons of supplies for in the future if I have to make a throttle cable or anything like that. I got the stuff here, and I got a whole whack of these fittings. Now, I am not using all of these fittings that come in the kit. I know it's a little wet. It's been raining here. It's been outside. But it came with a bunch of these fittings. And it is a fantastic kit. Now, these are solder-on links. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I'll pop a link down below in the description. And it worked really, really well in this instance. So I'll show you what you gotta do. Okay guys, so I am not good at soldering. You will probably see that. But I do know to start off to solder something, you have to use your flux. So I'm just gonna plop a little bit of flux on there. Maybe a little too much. This flux is probably older than me, but it still works. A little clumpy, but that's fine. Okay, so there we go. Then you want to plop your fitting right on the end there, just like so. Then I have my handy power probe, butane soldering iron here. Okay, and I'm just gonna let everything get a little warm. Just want a little more on the back half here, which is proving very difficult. All right, so now we have our end soldered on and ready to go. And yes, she is nice and tight and not going anywhere. So this is ready and set to go on the bike. So now I'll show you the next step on what we got to do. So here we are now at the important time of this episode. One of the important parts, we'll say. We gotta mount this bad boy under here. Now, if your intake boots are like these boots and they're really hard, dried out, and seem like they've shrunk in size, maybe due to the weather, it's a little cold out, so they've shrunk. What you have to do is make them a little more pliable with heat. Just go ahead, light up your little torch, and warm those. Now these boots are still good. They're not all cracked, they're not damaged, they're not anything. They're just not that pliable anymore. So like I said, you just gotta go ahead, heat them up a little bit. And that should be plenty enough to pop that car back in. Then you just wanna go ahead, spray a little bit of WD in there, or any other lubricant, and cram this back in there. All right, so once you've heated that up, spread your WD in there and pop your car back on. Just go ahead, tighten her up. Get that bad boy back in place. All right, that should be good. Now, we've got to route our throttle cable in to the new carb. And you just got to take it apart. And now, I don't know, I might have to cut more of that sheathing back, but we will see. Now, your throttle cable has to go down in there. Right there. Pops out on the other side. And that is why this needed to be modified, because that other end on this would not fit. So then, this is a little bit tricky and a little bit of a puzzle to get. On your boot. Cap. Pop that in. Okay, then once you fed your cable down into the bottom part of your needle there, add your spring in afterwards. Find it's a lot easier. So I just go ahead. Start it on my cable. Try and keep my gasket out of the way. And just twist that on like so. Oops, gasket is getting a little tied up there. Spring is all the way on. Gaskets in. Line it up. There is only one way this goes in, so it can be a little tricky. I want to seat that. Yeah, I think she's going to go. I'm just checking the height right now of the needle, making sure it's right. Because if you have it positioned a little too high, well, you'll end up with it idling or idling way too high, even though you don't have the throttle on. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I think I have my throttle cable routed wrong, so I might have to fix that because it seems a little tight. It seems to be pulling the needle too, just a little much. But it's not bad. It looks really good. So I could probably reroute my throttle cable after and fix that up a little bit better later. But for now, it looks really good. So we do have operating and working carburetors. So now what I'm going to do quick before I wrap this up for today, don't worry, I will be back. We will get this running, hopefully in this video, is I'm going to run some of my overflow hoses, get those fed down, and I'll be right back with that hose. So this is just fuel line that I picked up at my local parts store. No particular reason why. It was cheap and it was the right size. Just gonna feed it through the holder here. Side cutters would help, but these will do. I left the real pain for last. Way in there on the other side. And it is not easy to get to. I almost should have put it on first before I mounted the carb, but I didn't think of that, so here we are. So there you have it. Overflow lines hooked up. I'll slap on the air filter real quick. Just like so. And now we are ready for tank and fuel lines. It's super exciting. But that about does it for me for today. I gotta go make dinner, have a couple cold snacks, sit down, relax, maybe watch some TV. So I will see you later on in this video. Don't worry, I do have YouTube magic. I have been a certified wizard. I am magic. Watch this. So, guys and gals, we are back. It is the next day. I have my assistant, as you can see down below, here to help me. He's more of a supervisor than an assistant, but in these cases it'll do. So some things have changed. As you can see, I popped on the plastics after I installed the carburetors. I think they look fantastic, and hopefully I believe I am done with doing anything around here except for the battery. I also got the kickstand installed right here. And when I installed it, I imagined that it would be not very good content for you guys because it's only 4 bolts. But I can tell you what, it would have been very comedic for you guys in the end. Just to install this bad boy probably took me almost an hour in almost 40 plus weather. It was not fun. Turns out things are bent, things are not in the right place. It was awful. It was a nightmare to do. I also do have the other header on for anticipation of starting this bike in this video. She is about ready. So I will say, with no further ado, let's dive in and try and get this bike running. Okay, so I'm going to start off by trying to put on this fuel line that will go to the tank. Now, it is one size too small for the carburetors, but is the perfect size for the tank. So explain that to me. You might have to heat it up to fit it on, but I'll try and just force it. That's how we'll start. Yeah, I'm gonna have to heat that up. I'll be right back. There we go. Fuel line installed. Gonna go get the tank quick to make sure that I line that up right so it's in the correct spot. I don't want to cut too short. I only have so much of the line. Okay guys, so I have routed the fuel lines, installed the fuel filter for this side. Now I just gotta route this one to the tank, cut it, install my fuel line, and we should be good to go. Okay, so there's that guy. There you have it. Fuel system is hooked up. We got fuel filters, we got fuel lines. She's good to go. All right, so now that we got the carb set up, fuel line's good, that's all ready to rock. We got to do points. I installed them. I did not clean them because I thought I'd save it for you guys and show you how to clean them. Not that you probably already don't know how to clean points. But the points are just underneath this little cover here. And there you have it. You have your points. So now what you want to do to clean them, as you see, your points. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my little screwdriver here and just scrape off the fronts of the points. And I do have sandpaper, but I'm just going to get the bulk of it off with the screwdriver here. As you can see, it is working. But boy, these points are tight, I tell you. Which is good, but it makes it hard to clean them. Okay, so now that I got the bulk of it off, I'm just going to go out with a little bit of sandpaper here and just get right in there and just clean these points up. It's really hard to get in there, but whoops, I'm making it work. All right, so I hope that's about good enough. Now I'm gonna go grab my plugs and see if I got spark. All right, so I believe I've cleaned the points up enough to get spark now. I do have an issue with the other side spark plug. I might be able to salvage a boot from something or just rig it up and make it work for now. But there's something I'd like to say. This is the whole reason for this engine rebuild. Before you put your spark plugs in, this is very important. Again, this is why I had to rebuild this whole engine and get a cylinder head, other than the fact that it was seized. Well, this all leads back to the point of why it was seized. Never seize on your spark plugs. Please, guys. Never seize. All the way around. Put never seize on them. Then go ahead, drop them in your cylinder head. And that will prevent them from seizing and snapping off in your cylinder head. Trust me, it saves you from a huge amount of heartache. Okay, so now comes the matter of truth. Can I put gas in it and will it fire for the first time in decades? Okay, I didn't have a lot of gas, but I had some gas. So let's see if we can just get it to fire off on some gas. So, she might need a little kickstart with some go-go juice, guys. I'm just going to spray this right down the yap. Turn her over and see what happens. She's going to go. Okay, so I swapped out the battery booster pack for a bigger battery. And now let's try and see if she'll start now. Well, guys, it is alive. After all that work, we finally heard this thing bark off and somewhat idle after decades of sitting and being seized. There you have it. The 1969 Honda CB350 runs. Not well, mind you, but it runs and barks off, and she somewhat starts. She's not bad. This week, I plan on doing some work on this old CB. I am tired of how grungy and dirty it looks, and as you can tell, the tank is off. Why? Because I think it is time for some paint. I want to slap some color on this thing. I know it's already all painted and matched and everything, but frankly, I do not think it's enough. I think we can really make this bike pop with some color. And well, frankly, I fell in love with the previous tank that was on this bike. If you remember, it was the CL tank that the bike came with. And I really love the design of the white and the red that was on it. So I figured, well, why don't I give her a go and try and do it myself? So that is the plan for this week. I know I have made some changes to it. I have the mufflers fully mounted, all the other fun stuff. And guys, she does run very well as well. Still might need some adjustments on the carburetors and stuff like that. I haven't touched them. Frankly, for all I know, they're still set to where they were out of the box when the previous owner got them. So that still needs to happen. But I'm jumping ahead here a little bit just to make us feel a little bit better and get her looking really sharp. So I do have a surprise in store for us. So if you'll join me over here, I'll show you what I got going on. So here it is, guys. This is the tank off the bike. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. BK, what the hell is going on here? That looks like crap. Well, that is because I just roughed in my white spot that I want on the tank. And then I let her dry really good for a couple days, really let that paint harden. And now I'm going to tape it all off and spray some red on it, and I'll show you exactly what I'm planning on doing with this. So in the spirit of the bike, I wanted to stay somewhat true to it and keep it red, because the bike was originally red at one point or another. Now it had been painted, changed, all that other nonsense, but I wanted to keep it red. So I ended up getting this Duplicolor paint. But it's not just any red paint. This is supposed to be extremely metallic red paint. So this thing will sparkle in the sun. She's going to have a really nice shine to her, and with a couple coats of clear on it afterwards, oh, it's going to look really good. So that's all this is. This is just red, high metallic paint with metal specks in it. Apparently, it's got some metallurgy science going on in here. I don't know. And then all I did was I had a can of this cloud white paint that I had kicking around in my garage that I decided to paint the bottom with. It's a really nice white. I used it on a previous restoration that I sort of did on a boat engine that you guys might have seen in the background. So that is this paint. It's cloud white. I think it's actually for a Nissan or something. It's a paint code match one. But that's all this is. I just picked this stuff up, my local hardware store around the corner, and that's what I got. Now, there'll be a quick break in the action, for me anyways, but not so much for you guys. I'm going to mask this off, give it a quick sand maybe, and I'll be right back, okay? And I'll have it all laid out on what I'm planning on doing, and I'll show you what my idea is, all right? So I'll be right back. All right. So after I've given it a quick scuff and I've masked off what I want to keep white, this is the rough idea of what I want it to look like. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we'll definitely give it a shot and see what happens. If I don't end up liking it, well, I can always just paint over it and do it again later if I really want to. But this is the layout that I want. So I'm just going to slap her down here. My handy dandy painting booth, as you can see. Okay guys, so I threw on a coat of primer. I wasn't really going to do it, but I realized that I probably should, because it still had some white paint underneath, and that would change the color of the red. So I figured I should probably just all make it one color with a quick coat of primer. Now this is just Duplicolor's Automotive Series primer. It's a 2-in-1. This is one of my favorites. It is filler primer. So what that is it's thicker than your normal primer. So it really helps fill in those scratches and those chips and dent marks. So it really helps out when it comes time to actually slap on your final coat of paint. It's sort of like doing a body filler, but in a can. So I'm just going to slap on the second coat here. And now that's probably pretty good for the primer. And guys, keep in mind, I am not a body man by any means. I am not a painter. Frankly, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to this stuff. I just know if you spray it on, it changes color. And it looks better when you're done. So keep that in mind. Take what I say and do at will. I am not a body man. So don't wreck me too much in the comments, okay guys? All right, so now comes the time to shoot it with some color. Let's see what this is going to look like. That's starting to look pretty good, if I don't say so myself. So I'm doing some really nice thin coats on it just to avoid runs for now. You don't want to end up with some runs in your paint, because then you're having to sand it back down, reprime it possibly, all that other nonsense. So you want to keep your coats nice and thin, especially when you're doing it outside in this weather where it's really hot. It really does not help the paint, and it makes it run a lot easier. So stick to thin coats when you're doing it. So I'm going to let that flash off, and I'll be back in a moment to spray on the second coat. All right, so I let this flash off for a good maybe 5 minutes or so out here in the sun, which is probably more than enough. Time for second coat. All right, that will probably do good for a second coat. I'll still probably have to do a couple more, maybe one, maybe two more coats. We'll see how the next one ends up going on, because it definitely at least needs one more. But for now, that is looking really good. Look at the sparkle in that tank and the color that that has. That is looking fantastic. We just have to hope that the white holds up, because most of the times I don't have any luck with taping off and keeping stuff good underneath the tape. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, I'm gonna let that flash off, and I'll be back to do another coat. Maybe I'll do some off camera just to speed things up for you guys a little bit, but don't worry, I'll be back. So guys, I figured, well, that was flashing off and drying up. I did do a third coat on it, and it is looking like probably 3 coats is probably good enough. But I figured, well, that was drying and waiting for clear on it. I'd bring you guys back over here and I'd show you what else I would like to do to the bike later on in this video. I'm not going to do it today. Frankly, it's scalding hot out and I do have to go out later. I do have plans, so I don't have time to be doing this today, but I was able to make enough time to be able to spray that tank. This is what I've found since I've started to mount more parts on this bike, especially mufflers. So you might see this laying here. This is not off this bike. The factory one should be coming up right about here. And as you can see, it does not. Hits the muffler almost dead center. So I think that is bent. I want to say this leg right here is a little bent in. And that's why it was very unsteady all the time whenever I put it on the center stand. This thing, if you just breathed on it the wrong way, wanted to fall over when it was on the center stand. And that shouldn't happen. It should be extremely sturdy when it's on the center stand. So I believe this leg of it is bent. Now, I'll show you something else that I plan on hopefully replacing later on in this video, which I have as well. That is the rear brake pedal. This thing has to be mangled. It has to be so bent up, it's unreal. Because I could not get, if you remember from the last video, I could not get the kickstand mount and the foot pegs back on extremely easily. I know I didn't film it, but I did talk about it. And it was mainly because this pedal was really in the way. I had to bend it and pry it all my way and everything else just to get this on decently. So I believe this has to be all bent up and mangled as well. So I have to replace this because even if you look at it, this is supposed to be a lot higher up. So where your foot would rest rather than way down here. And it's got weird play and not very good travel in it as well. So I have to replace this as well. So I hope to do that later on in this video and I'll show you guys how to replace it. I have one of these in my garage and that is amongst the parts that were donated from a viewer towards this build. So thanks again for those parts. They've come in extremely handy. So let's get back to the gas tank. Okay guys, we are back and I believe this has dried enough now. It's been about an hour or so and I believe it's dried enough where I can peel the tape off now and see the results and hopefully everything worked out okay. So I'm going to start on this side, hide it a bit from you guys. Always looking really good. Okay. Okay. Oh man, that is turning out amazing. Oh, okay, this side turned out fantastic. Hold on, I'll peel off the other side so you guys can see. Hopefully this side turned out just as good. Oh. Oh, guys, look at that. That looks so good. That looks fantastic. So next will be a coat of clear. And I'll show you guys in just a second. Still a little bit of tape here in some spots. I'll pull off. Here is the whole tank. I think that looks really, really sharp. That pinstripe definitely looks really good. So I'm going to go get the clear, and I'll show you guys what kind of clear I'm going to use. It's a specific kind of clear that I have really liked over the years using, specifically just for gas tanks. So I'll be right back. Okay, so guys, I know a lot of people nowadays use the 2K clear that you can get, which I'm not knocking the 2K clear. It is a really good product. It goes on nice, thick, and it looks fantastic. But for gas tanks and stuff that's going to have fuel, chemicals, all that other nonsense that are going to spill and possibly be on it, I like to use this stuff. It is VHT's clear coat. Yes, they make a clear coat. And now why I like to use this is because it is a chemical resistant clear coat. So if you think about it, it's your gas tank. You're going to have some dribbles when you fill up. It's going to happen. It happens to the best of us. The last thing you want to do is when you take your bike out for the first time after you just painted it, take it to a gas station, dump some gas in it, have a little bit of a dribble with the nozzle after, run down the tank, and it ruins your nice paint job. You want to protect that paint. So that is why I like to use the chemical resistant clear coat by VHT. It works really well. I try to use it on everything that I know is going to have some sort of chemical or anything that's going to splash on it. This really helps protect it. So again, guys, this will be just like paint, thin coats. That's the key. Now, I don't know if I have any left in this can, but I'll try it. All right, so that is probably good for the first coat of clear. I'm going to let that flash off for a little bit and then come back and apply the second coat. Okay, so we're back. I've done 4 coats of clear on this, and I think it is looking fantastic. It has a fantastic color to it. This paint is going above and beyond of what I've expected. It's got a nice, deep, metallic look. I'll show you guys later. The sun ain't quite out right now and on it, but when the sun hits it, this thing shines beautifully. So I'm just going to let this clear dry really well, and I'll mount it back up on the bike, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. But for now, that about wraps it up for today. Again, I got people to see, places to go to, so I can't hang out that long with you guys right now. I just have to let this dry for now. That's about all I can do for now. And we'll come back tomorrow and we'll get this thing mounted back on the bike with the badges back on it. And we'll see what it looks like on the bike. And hey, here's one for you guys. If you know anyone that has the Honda badges that actually are supposed to go on this bike, send me an email. I haven't really looked into finding them, but if any of you guys know someone that might have the Honda badges that go down here, let me know. Drop me an email, leave me a comment. I'll see it, and hopefully we can get those badges also as well back on this tank and have it looking pristine, because this thing is turning out fantastic. And yes, I do plan on doing the same paint on the plastics as well. So I'll show you guys here. So this is the color of what it looked like before. It's a good side-by-side comparison of what would have what it looked like before and now after. And like I said, I plan on doing the same color on these plastics. I'll strip them down and I'll paint them and get them looking beautiful. We'll give this bike a real nice facelift and we'll bring it into the 21st century with some really nice metallic paint. So stay tuned for that. And I still have to replace those parts that are mangled on the bike. So, like I said, stay tuned and see what else I get up to on the 1969 CB350. Okay, guys, so we are back again on the CB, and as you can tell, I have the tank back and mounted, and it is looking really, really sharp. It turned out fantastic. I did 4 coats of clear on it, 4 coats of red, and I think it looks amazing. This tank looks really good, especially with the pinstripe that I put in. I think that was a really good call to make, and I think it looks awesome. So now today, I have some parts that I do need to replace. I might not be able to get to them all, and still some plastics that gotta get done, have to be painted. But I've noticed while working on this bike that these shocks are wrong. They're the incorrect shocks, because as you can see down here, someone made up this bracket here, and the shocks are actually supposed to mount like that and over this piece, not with a bracket. So someone ended up probably breaking the original shocks or something, who knows, and they ended up just having these kick around, and they ended up putting these on instead of getting the actual factory shocks. Those factory shocks are much better, actually. If I can reach it, they're adjustable in height. So they're a much better design than these. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with these shocks, but they are the incorrect style. And I figured, well, since I have the factory shocks that came with the parts haul of the old frame that's sitting off to the side there, I figured I'd take those off and put on the proper shocks, and maybe it will help with the ride as well when I finally get time to actually ride this bike. So that is what we're going to be doing today. And again, I'll point out on how I know that the service stand is bent. You can see down here, if you haven't noticed, on how it's not actually resting on it. It's resting on the arm. So it makes it very, very wobbly. It's actually supported on this side by a block of wood to keep it from falling over, because if it wasn't for that wood, it would just fall right over. So I do need to get to replacing that. I have it sitting right there, maybe right in front of the camera, and that will get replaced maybe later on in this video. I just don't have time to do it today. But I figured I might as well hop in and replace these shocks. And I have my assistant here helping me as well. Oh yeah, can't even really get that. Okay, I'll probably have to undo the other side to get this grab bar out of the way. Like that. And then I can probably take the shock right off. There we go. One shock removed. So now this one will go on like that. And I'm just going to do one side at a time, not both together, to hopefully keep the rear end from dropping too much, and it'll make easy installation for the newer one, so I don't have to jack up the back or any of that. And I could just swap them on and replace them. Which might fit. I might still have to bring them back up, actually. Maybe not much. Yeah, not much, but a little bit. All right, that's one side done and on. Now I'm going to move over to this side. Another side off. Okay, so I got both the shocks in at the bottom. Now I'm just going to slap the bolts in at the top and tighten them up. There you go. That actually fits and tightens up the grab bar a lot better. It's a lot more sturdy now. So it's much better. And it has the proper shocks on it. And frankly, it looks a lot better without this silly contraption on it. For whatever reason they decided to put those on. I'll keep them. I'll throw them on the shelf. I might find a use for them later on. But those are the proper shocks, and it looks a lot better. I'm sure it will ride a lot better as well. All right, so we're back, and I have the side plastics prepped and ready. The badges are all off, the little buttons, all that stuff is off. They just came off with these little clips, if you could see them. And that's what held the 350 badges on. Then these are just rubber, you can pop them right out. Now you could leave them in, tape them off and all that, but I find it's a little more of a pain in the butt to do it that way. Plus I hate taping. So I find it a little easier just to pop them off. And I gotta sand these before I can slap some primer on, because there are quite a few imperfections. This one almost has like rotar on it or something. I'm not too sure. Overspray from something. It's got some nasty stuff on it. So I gotta give them a quick little sand, and then I am good to prime and slap some color on these. So now for the moment of truth, we're going to be spraying some color on these plastics and seeing how they're going to turn out. That'll probably do pretty good for first coat. Let that tack up, and we'll be back for a second. So those are really starting to shape up and look really good. There are some flaws in them, some scratches and some dings and marks in them. I'm not striving for perfection here. I just want them to match the tank and look a little bit better. Like I said, I'm no body man. I could have sanded these right down, got all the scratch marks right out of them, but also, you're taking away some of that character away from the bike. It is from 1969, and frankly, it has earned these dents and marks and scratches, so I'm not too broken up about them. I think they'll be fine. It will look really good once they're done. I'm not too worried about it. Maybe some of you guys would want, put some paint thinner on these, scrape these right down, have them perfect, have them nice and clean, sand them, have them mint. I'm not striving for perfection here. I'm just striving for better, not perfect. So I think they'll be all right. And hey, guys, on a side note, you may or may not have noticed the shirt that I'm wearing here. This is an official BK Motors and Mayhem shirt. Now, I don't have a store up. I don't have a huge amount of supply to actually get these shirts. It might be in the future, maybe if you guys really like them. But this is the first rendition of the BK Motors and Mayhem Lubrication is Key shirt. So let me know in the comments. Hey, you guys are really into that? You like them? Maybe we can make that happen. But for right now, these are just for my personal wear. But I think they're really cool. They're a really great material. Local company that made them. And I really love them. Remember, guys, lubrication is key. All right, so we're going to be slapping on the third coat now. The third coat now. So we're back. It is now the next day. The plastics have dried, and as you can see, I already installed them back on. They look really good. They turned out fantastic, I think. The color on them, everything, they look awesome. This bike is really turning out to look good. With the tank and the freshly painted plastics, looks pristine. So now I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and replace the service stand because it drives me nuts. It is wobbly. It's all over the place. The bike's going to fall over on me. And frankly, we can't be having that now that we got nice plastics on it. So it doesn't look too hard. I'm probably going to end up cursing and swearing and that'll get cut out. But it doesn't look too bad. So let's hop in and get right to it. So I'm replacing the center stand on this, and it's not just traditionally bolted on, unfortunately. They kind of made it a little more complicated than that. So what they did was they have this shaft that goes through, and it's flared out on this side, and it's got a cotter pin on this side, and then two bolts on either side, nut and bolted together, sort of pinches down on it. So what you have to do is take the cotter pin out, and then hammer the shaft out from this side of the bike and pop it out onto that side after you unbolted those pinch down bolts. So it's not the easiest thing to try and do, but you'll get it eventually. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm about to hammer down on this shaft and try and pop it out. So let's see if it works. So before I get too crazy on hammering down on it, I am going to spray it down with some WD-40. Remember, lubrication is key, especially on these older bikes, guys. Hey everyone, so it has been a well-fought battle to get this kickstand off. This thing is way more bent up than I originally thought. It's really bad. I actually could not get the pin out. So I had to get a little destructive, unfortunately. Nothing I'm hoping a welder can't fix, but I did have to bend the ears off on this. I'll show you in a second. But this is how bad it is bent. And here is the proper one for comparison. And with how bad that service stand was actually sitting, it was sitting really low on the back tire. So you'd never have been able to ride this bike and take any kind of turn, even kind of sharp. It would have dragged on the ground. So either way, it need to come off. And I either just rock the bike without a service stand, or I try and get this one on and see what I can do. But it was really bad. And I'll even show you this one. It's not moving. This actually ballooned out from me getting a tool stuck in there and having to get that out. But I believe this is actually bent across here a little bit from how hard it got hit. I think this is bent. This is how easy this pin is supposed to be. That's simple. And as you can tell, I started this during the day. It's now dark. So I'm going to try, get this service stand back in, see if it'll work or not. I did save the piece. I'll bring you guys around and show you why I had to break off. And I'll see if I can salvage putting a kickstand back on this. So come on over here and I'll show you what I did. So right here, this is why I had to break off to be able to pry that out. This is the little piece. I did manage to save it. So I think if I tweak this back into place a little more, maybe I can weld this back on. Maybe in the future I could do that. I'll see what I can do with how it sits right now and see if I can pop the service stand in, and then I can figure something else out later on. But if the service stand doesn't go back on, it doesn't go back on. I'm not going to be too brokenhearted about it. But that's where I'm at. Oh, there we go. Even the spring went on easier. That's how your service stand is supposed to be. And then that's when I find out I put it on upside down. Ah! Imagine that. No, I did not. So we are back. It is now the next day. I worked well into the night to finish putting the center stand back on. And while I was at it, I replaced the brake pedal. So here you have it. Working, fully functional, much better brake pedal. This is the other one, the old one over here. And I'll show you if you could tell. You can see on how bent it was, and it looks like someone heated it up even to try and bend it back. And it just wasn't right. It was pretty badly bent and did not work at all. So I was able to get the new one on. Works pretty good. Rather happy with it. Center stand, it works. I have tried it. So all in all, I would say things turned out rather successful. We got the plastics done, the tank is done, and we got our parts replaced that needed to be replaced, along with the rear shocks. All right, everyone, we are back. It is now the next day, and as promised, we are going to be taking the CB out for its first ride. So we're just down a street that's by my house. It's not too far from BK Motors of Mayhem HQ. And we're just going to run it down the street quick, bring her back, and tuck her back in. Because there's some wonky things going on with it. She's leaking a little bit of oil from the tensioner there for the cam. I think I replaced that gasket, but still a little leaky. So whatever, don't worry. I did check the oil. She's got enough in it. And it doesn't like to stay running for very long either from time to time. So, you know, old bike things. These are still some quirks we need to work out of it, but for now, we can at least try to ride it for its first time in decades. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, and let's see if we can take it for a ride. As promised, like I said, it doesn't like to stay running. And she might, oh, back. All right, so there you have it, guys and gals. That wraps up the 1969 Honda CB350. Now, like I said, she doesn't run too great right now. I don't know what footage will end up posted, but later on it did actually make it all the way down that street and turn around and come back with almost no problems. Now, you might notice she is smoking a little bit. That's because, like I said, it's leaking oil from that timing chain tensioner gasket. So I'll have to replace that again later on. I won't bore you guys with it though. But she does ride under her own power. Not too far, but she did ride again. So I am looking very much forward to getting this more rideable much later on, probably off camera, but I'll update you guys. Don't worry. If there's something crazy that I do to it, I'll make sure to bring you guys in and show you what I do. But for now, like I said, that wraps up the CB. So until next week, guys, this is BK Motors and Mayhem out. And hey, I do have something special for next week, so make sure you tune in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.